1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Ta-da! Hello and welcome to The War on Ever. It is Thursday, the 9th of February, 2023. Time marches on. Hello, everyone. Sorry, that took me ages to get prepped. I was making this picture with some mints. I had to find some mints on the internet to do me 30p. 3, 4. What's this? Kinder Eggs. 3. What's this? What's your favourite chocolate? 3, 4. Tree. What is going on in the chat? What is 3, 4? 3, 4. There was an episode of The New Statesman where Alan Bastard brought back the death penalty, according to Graham Haller, when was then found guilty of a crime and sentenced to death. If life copied art, could that happen to 30p Lee? Oh, you could only hope. I want the death penalty brought back just for 30p Lee. Absolute scumbag of the parish, and that's saying something. That's saying something because the Tories are fucking scum. There's no two ways about it. The Tory party in 2023 is the most scumtastic it has ever been in its centuries-old history. That is quite impressive, really. I mean, they talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel. There is no more bottom of the barrel. It's all been scraped away. You're now just literally scraping the concrete under the barrel. There's nothing left in the barrel. The barrel is empty. You're scraping away at the filthy concrete under the barrel. That's where the Tories are right now. And it's oh my God, seriously. I don't know. Anyway, loving the background noise is great. Oh shit, so basically my audio has been on while I've been working, trying to fix this picture. Sorry about that. Oh well, at least you didn't hear me swearing, I guess. The destruction of the Traitory pleases me. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I don't know why OBS has decided to go a bit weird on me in terms of not showing me that my mic was hot. My mic was hot while I had the test page up, but there you go. You know, you live and learn. You live and learn. And probably hear me tapping the mic to make sure it's on. There's a lot of work goes into prepping for these live shows, you know. Not as much as went into doing the Man of the World shows where different countries each week. Fuck, that was hard. I was like literally the whole day, and it wasn't just like doing a picture here. I had to do like the splash screen, and it'd be a different country and a different flag. So I had to have the flag, and I had to have a different background depending on. I couldn't just use the same background in every show. Oh, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of fucking work. Oh, I had to learn about every country in the world because there's a lot that I've forgotten. Anyway, off with his heads. Indeed, Graham Haller. I've read that one. Evening, Graham. I hope it's Portments. You first 30p Lee. I live in 30p's parish, says Kate Cannon. I'm so sorry. Where is it? Ashworth. Is it Ashworth in Kent? Is that it? I'm so sorry. Hopefully he'll be out in his ear in the next election, but you never know. There is an election today that's taking place, a by-election, in the West Lancashire constituency, which was Rosie Cooper's constituency. I thought that Rosie was leaving just to go and work to go and work at a charity. Turns out she was leaving because she was essentially receiving death threats, leaving as an MP. After 16 or 17 years as an MP, she's left the post because of death threats sent to her by British white neo-Nazi terrorists. That's the Britain of 2023. My God. But the gallows that Alan Bastard procured made a cheap timber collapsed as soon as it went through the trapdoor for the measured drop. Excellent. Why on earth does Sonak make this toss piece the chair? Well, he's not the chair, is he? He's the deputy chair. But he did it because it plays well with the base, as in the basic people, the stupid people, the thick people, the pig ignorant people, the willfully ignorant, pig ignorant, stupid, mince-headed dimwits who go for this kind of stuff. Let's talk about the death penalty. Let's just talk about the death penalty for one moment, okay? Let's imagine that we get rid of the Convention on Human Rights. So we'll become the only country in Europe to not have this, apart from Belarus and Russia. They're the two countries that have pulled out of the European Convention on Human Rights. So we pull out as well, great, and then we can bring in the death penalty. The death penalty. The actual fucking death penalty. The European Convention on Human Rights was brought in with the help of Winston Churchill. So they've already done away with Margaret Thatcher's efforts to make the single market one of the most remarkable things that humans have ever created. So done away with that for Britain. Everyone else gets to enjoy it. And now they're getting rid of one of Winston Churchill's greatest achievements, because let's face it, he didn't really win World War II on his own. We got a lot of help from the Russians, ironically, and the Americans, and all the countries around the world that were part of the British Empire. There's 54 countries to choose from now. And yeah, great. Thanks for that. Everyone helping out like that. That was good. And the Allies, of course. We also had, the Free French and everyone else. Listen, anyway, the point being, it was one of his greatest achievements, getting the European Convention of Human Rights signed up, and people in the Council of Europe said, yeah, we'll do this. This sounds great. This sounds good. This all sounds good. They're trying to get rid of that so they can bring in the death penalty. Okay, let's imagine for 1 second that we don't care about the morality of it. We don't give a fuck about the fact that, is that at your island, asked Desert Machine? I don't think so. If my quality of my feed is not very good, if I'm very, I don't know what the refresh rate is, but basically if I'm jerking around like a lunatic, it's the fault of Vodafone, who have just supplied me with new internet. It's my new broadband. It's Vodafone. So I was with Virgin, they were shit. Got with BT, they were shit. And then, signed up with Vodafone, who decided yesterday that I had to stay in for 5 hours between the hours of 8 o'clock and 1 o'clock in the morning to the afternoon. And, I had to sit in. And if I didn't sit in, I would be fined. Yes, sorry. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I would be fined. I would face a fee for someone coming back another day. And they can't give you a more accurate time of when they're going to arrive. 5 hours. You got to stay home. So I couldn't take my stepdaughter to school. I couldn't drop my partner off at the station. I couldn't go shopping. I couldn't go and get a pint of milk. I was a bit worried even to use the toilet, just in case I didn't get to the fucking front door in time. This actually happened yesterday. So eventually I thought, fuck it. I don't know when the guy's going to turn up. I'll do Prime Minister's questions as best I could yesterday, given my lack of broadband. So I did it on my phone. Some people quite enjoyed it. I had my other phone in front of the camera, but sorry, the other phone. The phones were pointing at each other, so you could see what was happening, but the audio was out of sync, which was a bit annoying for me on the techie side of things. Anyway, they fucking turned up. 5 minutes past 1. Those watching actually live, I finished by going, oh shit, there's someone at the door. That was the BT engineer, the OpenReach engineer, because it's all owned by BT, you see. All the cables are owned by BT, even though it's a private company. I don't really understand OpenReach. Is it private? Is it public? Who fucking knows anymore? Anyway, let's get back to the death penalty, which I think should be reserved for people who make me wait 5 hours in my house under virtual house arrest, under penalty of a fine, and then arrive 5 minutes late. No, I'm joking. Okay, so let's say we have the death penalty. We bring it in, one of the few countries, the few Western countries, to have this horrific punishment. Will it stop murders? No. America, which has the death penalty, has a murder rate 5 times that of the United Kingdom. 5 times that. And don't say, oh, but America's got a bigger population. No, this is proportionately. It has 5 times the population. It's got 5 times the population. But also, it's got 5 times the amount of murders per 100,000 people. Okay, proportionately per 100,000 people. And they have the death penalty. Does it put anyone off murdering? Not really. Do you know what it does do? Putting morality aside for a moment, it costs a fucking fortune. Okay, so you imagine a scumbag serial rapist, like that fucker who went to jail this week. Metropolitan Police motherfucker. Right. I would say, if we had a death penalty, he's probably one of the people who would deserve a fucking death penalty for what he's done, for how many lives he's ruined. Okay, fair enough. If I was a proponent of the death penalty, I'll say, yep, he's up for it. He's up for the chop. Okay, so at the moment, this fucker's got 30 years at least in jail, no chance of parole. Okay, he's just going to do that. He's going to do that because there's no point in appealing that. Why would he appeal? Like, he's not going to, probably. He admitted to his crime, so he got 20% off for admitting to all of his heinous crimes. And so he's got that hope that he might see daylight again sometime in the 2050s. If we had the death penalty and he was banged to rights and he said, yep, I did it, I'm guilty, yep, I did that horrible thing, did lots of horrible things, then he's sentenced to death. There's two things that happen to him. First of all, if he had claimed that he was not guilty, he didn't say that he was guilty, if he had claimed to be not guilty, he would have gone to a jury trial. And there'll be people on a jury who literally would not want to kill another human being. So they might be tempted, if the evidence was pretty overwhelming but not absolutely conclusive, they might go for a guilty verdict if, it looks like he's going to spend 30 years in jail. They might not go for a guilty verdict if he's going to be put to death. Because people are like that. Some people really, really don't want to kill another human being. It's kind of normal to not want to kill another human being, right? But then there's the other factor, which is this. You go to jail for doing a heinous crime, let's say murder, and you are told you're on death row. You're on death row, lads. That's it, mate. We're gonna fry you alive. We're gonna fry you till you're dead, because we're civilized like that. Okay, so what does that convict do straight away? It calls up a lawyer, which is not going to be paid for by him, I assume, because he's in jail. So a lawyer representative, who might not get paid that much, to be honest with you, who will take his case on, public defender to say he shouldn't be put to death. Now, if he was sentenced to 30 years, there'd be no need for this. But because he's been sentenced to death, he will lodge appeal after appeal after appeal after appeal until that process is absolutely exhausted. And so, in a state like, California, they often find that it is more expensive to put someone to death, when you think about the court fees, the judge's time, maybe getting a fucking jury, special counsel, whatever the fuck you need, right, to do all these appeals, the amount of money it costs more than just leaving them alive in a cell. I know that might seem counterintuitive, but actually just keeping a human being alive doesn't really cost that much. And that's why when we had the pandemic, they managed to get all of the homeless people off the streets. Because it's not that expensive. It's something that we could do if we wanted to. But obviously we don't want to, because we're a bunch of cunts. So you haven't just got the moral argument that the state shouldn't be murdering people, no matter what. Also the moral argument of, what if you're wrong? What if you get the wrong person? If you put them in jail for 30 years, well, at least you can give them compensation when they get out. If you put them to death, there's nothing you can do about that. There's also the point that the countries around the world, with the possible exception of Japan, that have the death penalty are nearly all fucking shitholes, where human rights don't mean that much above, the rights of guns, for instance, or the leaders to do what the fuck they want, or gangsters, or gangs, or the mafia, or whatever the fuck it is that's running the fucking country. You tend to find those two things go hand in hand. And if Britain is seriously trying to build bridges after the debacle of Brexit and all the shit that's been done for fucking ages, like literally the last, I'll say 13 years, the damage that's been done, more so in the last 7 years since the Brexit vote, when we told Europe to fuck off and they were all a bunch of concentration camp guards and we called it the EU-SSR. Fuck me. And we appointed Boris Johnson as the least appropriate person to be the foreign secretary. So this guy went around the world insulting every country in the world in alphabetical order, pretty much. Wow. Great job, everyone. So then we move forward, and now we're insulting the Australians. We're saying we've got a shit trade deal with Australia. It's shit for us. We shouldn't have done that. We insult the Americans by shitting all over the Good Friday Agreement. We insult the Americans again in another way by pulling out the European Convention on Human Rights, because that underpins the Good Friday Agreement. And if we pull out of it, we are breaking the Good Friday Agreement. And I know this government loves this brinkmanship with itself. What? To piss off the people of Northern Ireland to the point where they decide to leave the UK. I guess that's the plan. I don't fucking know. But it is a bit dispiriting, isn't it? That this government in particular has gone around the world pissing everyone off. And then the moment where we're like, shit, we are the only advanced, the only emerging, the only big economy in the world that is going into recession. We have got an economy that has been hit worse than Russia's economy. Russia's economy is going to grow in this quarter. Ours is going to shrink. We need friends. We need friends around the world really quickly. And yes, I think we've done really well helping out Ukraine to a certain extent. I'd like to do more, especially with refugees, and not make them fill out fucking forms and leave their dog in another country for 3 weeks while their daughter cries her eyes out because the dog is absolutely adorable. Ovs. Okay, all that aside, you're not going to get much money out of Ukraine because it's fighting a war at the moment and they're sacrificing their sons and daughters fighting a fucking war that we don't want to fight. I don't want to fight it. Do you want to fight it? Well, okay, well, shut up then. Let the fucking Ukrainians fight it and let them have what they need. If they want fighter aircraft, good. Give them fighter fucking aircraft. Little known fact, in the build-up to World War II, under the auspices of the Treaty of Versailles, which we were a signatory to, although America was a signatory to it, but it was never ratified in the Senate, so that's another matter. We said that we wouldn't expand our Air Force in a way that we wouldn't make bombers, right? This is the excuse. We couldn't make bombers because they're an offensive weapon. We could make defensive weapons, so we could make Spitfires because they're a fighter plane. You only need a fighter plane to take out other planes, and that's what the Ukrainians are asking for at the moment. They're saying, can we have some fighter planes? Which I think is fair enough. Okay, Ukraine aside, we need friends around the world. The vast majority of countries around the world, especially the ones with a bit of wodge, don't have the death penalty. And they might be a little bit reluctant to trade with a country that has the death penalty if they don't have to. Okay, they have to trade with Saudi Arabia because we need their oil. Ugh. But they don't need to trade with us. There's nothing we make. There's literally nothing we make in this country that can't be made somewhere else. For less, probably. I mean, we make some good stuff. We make some like great smoked salmon from Scotland. We make some great whiskey from Scotland. We make some great haggis from Scotland. We make... Oh, that's all in Scotland. So when Scotland gets independence, we're kind of fucked, aren't we? What do we make in England? I don't know. We don't make batteries. We don't make steel anymore, really. We don't make coal. We don't make cars because, according to some Yahoo called into the James O'Brien show this week, we never sold cars into the single market. These people live amongst us. Anyway, so going back to 30p Lee for a moment. This guy is the Pied Piper of the dickheads. And one of the problems that we have in the centre left, obviously a little bit on the centre right, maybe, some issues. You have this problem that we don't want to insult people. We don't want to make fun of people for their sexual persuasion or their identity or if they're transgender or if they're an ethnic minority or if they have a different accent or if they were born in another country. We don't want to insult people. That's the whole point of political correctness. The whole point of seeing yourself as woke is that you just don't want to be mean, I guess, in general. But that's a two-edged sword because it means that you don't tell dickheads that they're dickheads, which is something that I think we should do. I really do feel like we need to start telling dickheads that they are dickheads. Simple as that. Anyway, right. I'm going to jump into your chat. Hey, because, you know, may as well. MP's getting a fucking pay rise, says regularly. Again? Indeed. Ashfield, Neil Mansfield, North Nottinghamshire. Ashfield. Oh, okay, not Kent then. That's somewhere else. Ashford? Is that Kent? My ancestors are Sutton. He's got to go. He's toast, and I'll be cheering to that. Deserves arrest at 72. Yeah, he's talking about Rosie. One of the Liverpool-like MPs. But you know, West Lancashire includes the town of Skemsdale, or Skem, as we like to call it. Now, this is one of those towns that is just it's got a crime rate 25% higher than the rest of the Northwest. Okay, so it's mad crime rate. And the reason being is, quite simply, it has no train station. So the government in the 1950s, in their infinite wisdom, the board of railways, they decided to stop passenger services going to Skelmersdale. Okay. And then 5 years later, the track was still there and freight trains were using the track. Okay, so there's a track that goes from Liverpool and it went all the way to Skelmersdale. And it was actually the end of the track. It was a branch line, okay? And that was the end of it. It didn't go on somewhere else. Anyway, I don't think. Anyway, so, it was still there. Still operable. The line was still there. And then 1961, Skelmersdale, which was a little village at the time, got turned into a new town. You know, like Milton Keynes, Newport Pagnell, Runcorn, a new town. These are towns that they tried to move people from the city centres out to the new towns, okay, or Speke in Liverpool. So they tried to get people out from the city centre slums, move them all out. They could knock down the slums and they could build some horrific concrete brutalist pieces of shit where the slums used to be. And then when you said, that's a horrific brutalist concrete piece of shit, it looks like a Nazi submarine base, mate. Have you been listening to that fucking Swiss fascist about what things should look like? Yeah, maybe you should stop listening to that cunt. But let's just imagine, okay, thought experiment, right, that, they did that and then they could say, yeah, but there were slums there before. I'm like, yeah. Does that mean that you can't build something better? Is that the idea? That sounds cocky then, didn't I? Better. Anyway, the point being, they moved a lot of people out of the city centres, like the city centres in Liverpool, and they moved them to Skelmersdale in 1961. And then in 1967, they pulled up the track. What? And now, if you want to get out of Skelmersdale, you have to get the bus. And the bus is expensive and unreliable and a bit shit and full of screaming school kids because there's no school buses. I don't know why Skelmersdale is so fucking deprived. I can't imagine. Maybe it's because they haven't got a fucking railway station. It's one of the largest towns in the country that doesn't have a railway station. In fact. Absolutely fucking nuts. Anyway, West Lancashire, as did all constituencies in Lancashire, voted for Brexit. So there's a part of me that thinks, oh, I'm going to fuck themselves. Do you know what constituency in Lancashire voted the most for Brexit? Blackpool North. Shithole. Tory voting shithole. And I will defy anyone who tries to explain to me that Blackpool isn't a shithole. I've been there many times and I never want to go again. I honestly just hate it. I absolutely hate it. If you want to go to a nice pastel-coloured seaside town, go to Llandudno in Wales. That's quite nice. It's probably the same distance from fucking Liverpool. Okay? Don't go to Blackpool. It's tacky. It's tawdry. It's cheap. It's nasty. It voted overwhelmingly for Brexit. And it keeps returning Tory MPs. In fact, it's one of those constituencies that they may very well still vote for the Tories in the next election, which would be interesting if it happens, because it's full of the gambots, full of the gammon, full of the 30p Lee's followers. Who's the more foolish? The fool or the person who follows him? Something like that. Obi-Wan Kenobi says it in Star Wars. Yeah. So he's thick as mints, 30p Lee, and then you've got the people who think he's great. And he's got a point. He's making a good point. He's saying the things that you can't say. Well, he just said it. How can you say you can't say it? He just literally said it. Plus, he's an MP. He has parliamentary privilege. He can stand up in Parliament and say literally pretty much anything he wants, except call someone a liar, who's a liar. And he can't get sued. It's parliamentary privilege. He has the freedom to say whatever the fuck he wants. Does he use it? I don't fucking know. Seems to come out with a load of shit. Anyway, so a few things came out. There was an interview that he did with the BBC in Ashford and Ashfield. And I'm getting corrected in the comments here. And he kept on going on at the presenter. Have you ever told a lie? Have you ever told a lie? Have you ever told? Well, you've told a lie, so you're a liar then. Which is like, there was a great not Penn and Teller, what are they called? Fucking Hale and Pace sketch from the 1990s, in which the joke was that the daughter wanted the dad to be so horrible to the boy that the boyfriend said, oh, you know, I don't want to be with you anymore because your dad's a nightmare. And that was the joke. So getting ahead with the punchline there. But one of the lines that the dad says to this poor boy is, do you masturbate? And he's like, they're sitting down for family dinner. And this poor lad is going out with this guy's daughter. And he says to this lad, do you masturbate? And he's like, no. And says, well, it's a well-proven fact that 99% of men masturbate and the other 1% are liars. So what are you, a liar or a wanker? And it's really funny, right? Because it's basically a comedy sketch. Yeah. Lee, fucking 30p Lee, did that today. He fucking did that on the telly. It was unbelievable. You look at it going, what the fuck? Not on the telly, on the radio. He went, have you ever told a lie? Have you ever told a lie? Have you ever told a lie? In defense of him telling his mate to pretend he doesn't know him so he could knock on the door and he'd go, yeah, I'm voting for you. I'm voting for the Labour people again. I'm voting for you. And it was all a setup because his mic was hot, like mine was before the show. And yeah, there you go. Also in the news, Bert Bacharach has died, which is upsetting. I will be listening to some Bert Bacharach later, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so back into your comments. I went by smoked salmon. It was Lance Foreman's. Yeah, Lance Foreskins. Lee Korn. Yes, Honda, Toyota, and Nissan built cars in the UK just to sell to the UK and Japan. None of them ever went to the single market. Roll eyes. Yeah. Bunch of snowflakes in the chat. What? Blizzard Knights of the Flake. The thing is, though, most fighters are multi-role and can be used offensively. That said, Russia and China gave fighters North Korea and North Vietnam during their conflicts. What sauce for the goose? Well, yeah, exactly. Yes, Graham, England is fecked. Scotland buggers off and leaves the United Kingdom. Indeed. Yeah, well, you know, that's the end of it, really, isn't it? I thought Scamdale was supposed to be Newtown. Yes, it was. But they didn't. They got rid of they literally made it a new town and at the same time got rid of the only railway station. So there was no quick and easy way to get where all the jobs were. Mad. Daily Blase is here. Hello, Darren. Good evening, Graham. Good evening, all, and I hope you and everyone is well. I'm all right. Got a bit of a sore throat, but that's nothing new. Madine Dorries, I like what you've done there, is stepping down as MP at the last election. Woo! Corks are popping in their constituency, at least for some. Indeed. My dad used to live in Cleverleys, very close, but close to North Blackpool, full of gammony OAPs. Yeah. I'm sorry to anyone watching this from Blackpool, but there won't be anyone watching this from Blackpool because there won't be anyone from watching. I really doubt it. Put it in the comments if you're watching this from Blackpool. I'll be very fucking surprised. Llandudno is lovely. My brother-in-law says it reminds him of the French Riviera. It is. I love Llandudno. Also, it's Llandudno, not Llandudno, because, you know, we're not so different, you and I. Especially in Welsh. I need to put that in the film one day. Graham, do you like Sean Dyke? Or Dick? How do you say his name? Is it Dyke? Dick? Oh, I don't know. He's all right. He's won a game against Arsenal. His first fucking game. I like him better than Frank Lampard because he didn't go, unlike Frank Lampard, he didn't go to private school. There you go. See privateschoolmafia.com for more details. Apparently, the UK's typhoons are only suitable for air-to-air, whereas Ukraine wants air-to-surface capabilities. Oh, there you go. Kudos, Graham, for your pronunciation of the Welsh double L. Bert Bacharach did the intro for the song for The Blob. Love that movie, both versions. Tell you what, though, did he do 24 Hours in Tulsa? That's a fucked up song. It sounds like really romantic if you don't listen to the lyrics. If you listen to the lyrics, it's like I was literally driving back to my partner, my wife, my cherub, like fucking, I don't know, like my love of my life. And I was 24 hours away from getting home, and I met this other person, and I fell in love with them. So you can fuck off. That's literally the lyrics, and you're like, what? Hey, how'd that happen? Indeed. Yeah, BT might own the cabling, but perhaps they rent out the infrastructure to other companies. Yeah, I think that's how it works. OpenReach is private, yeah. I mean, it's just mad. I mean, why does someone have to come to my house? Like, the engineer didn't do anything. The engineer came into my house and did nothing except check it was working, which they can't do from the box outside. But he did actually change the wires in the box outside. I guess that in the cabinet outside, they have to move the cables from the BT-owned socket to the Vodafone-owned socket. I don't know how it works. And nor should we know how it works before anyone tries to type into the chat how it works, because it will take ages to explain, I'm pretty sure. Today's Tories have no problems trashing the European Convention of Human Rights, one of Churchill's crowning glories. Yet there should be... sorry. My brain goes to Roger's Profanosaurus when I see the word crowning, because they talk about it in terms of poos. Obviously, you can use it for babies coming out, but they use it for poos. Crowning glories. Yet there should be even the merest hint of one of his statues being defaced or up in arms. Yeah. That's a really good point, Freckle Puny. Like, we're destroying the legacy of this man. But if you actually destroy a physical reminder that he didn't even fucking want, he didn't even want a statue. There was a story about his statue in Parliament Square having an electric fucking shock going, because it's a metal statue, isn't it? And he wanted to have like an electric shock going for it, so birds wouldn't land on his head, because he hated statues with bird shit all over them. He didn't want bird shit on his head. Thought it was a bit disrespectful. Fair enough. As Ian Hislop points out to Nazi Pingu, you end up executing people who then turn innocent of the crime. Yes, indeed. 10% of the executed were innocent. That's the only reason not to. Quality is great, says Deus. Thank you very much. Nadine Dork is stepping down as MP in the next general election. Yeah, she's probably going to go to the House of Lords. We've already discussed this, haven't we? Because she's going to get a gong off dickhead Boris Johnson. If the death penalty works as a deterrent, there'll be no one on death row in the USA. Well, they have a murder rate 5 times what it is in the UK. It doesn't work as a deterrent, because most people who murder people are A, out their mind, because you have to be to murder someone, and B, they think they're going to get away with it because you have to in order to kill someone. 2 things that aren't going to be forefront of your mind when you commit a heinous act like that. I mean, what about that fucker who killed his wife and his child the other day in the Epsom College? He killed himself. Like, crime's a good one. You know, I mean, would the death penalty have put him off committing that horrific crime? No, it fucking wouldn't. Do you know what would have put him off committing that crime? Him not being allowed to have a fucking gun. So any Americans watching tonight, just want to point this out, as I have done before in the past. If you have a gun in your house, you are 7 times more likely to be shot dead with a gun. And you know what? In America, you're quite likely to get shot with a gun. As is. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that was Bert. Loving the Bodum Cup, my man. Scandinavia for the win. Well, I got this from, what's it called? TK Maxx. Actually, I get most things from TK Maxx, except for the hat. Can't get these in TK Maxx, man. Fucking hell. I don't know. Now we're all going to face Donald and Boris 2.0. Yeah, Boris Johnson, he hopes to make a comeback. After making £10 million off talking to dickheads. Rich dickheads rather than poor dickheads. When he's in the UK, he talks to poor dickheads and they all think he's very clever because he sounds posh. Which is very, very, very frustrating. Indeed. So, yeah, Therapy Elite is a distraction, a convenient dead cat to throw on the table whenever needed. Well, yeah, I guess so. But it was worth talking about today a little bit. You know, I tend to go off on tangents because I do want to talk about the death penalty, because it's a fucking ridiculous shit show of an idea that has no place in civilized society. I really vehemently disagree with the whole fucking concept of having a death penalty. Not least because it might put people off putting people in jail because they think they might get killed when it comes to a jury, which is more likely to happen in the UK than the US, I guess. I don't know, but you've got the problem of innocent people being murdered by the state and guilty people going free because the jury gets a bit squeamish about putting them to death. And then how do you do it? How do you actually kill a human being in a humane way? There's not many ways of doing it where the person doesn't actually suffer. And in America, they had the electric chair for a long time, which was fucking horrific, and was invented by Edison, apparently to show how dangerous AC electricity was. Because he was a proponent of DC electricity. He thought DC electricity was amazing and that no one should use AC electricity, and Tesla famously wanted to have AC electricity. So fucking Edison being Edison, he made a fucking electric chair in order to kill people. So go, look how dangerous AC electricity. You couldn't do that with DC. You probably could actually. You could probably stop someone's heart with a big battery. A DC battery. But I'm getting off the point. The point is that it's horrific. Like, okay, so do you hang them? Well, lots of people fall from the gallows, break their neck, don't die, scream as best they can, wiggle about. I mean, you know, it's pretty fucking horrific if you don't just die. One of the reasons the guillotine was invented, I do think the last time the guillotine was used in France was like 1977 or something. Look it up on Google, guys. I don't know. It just seems to be quite a recent thing in sort of living memory for them using the guillotine. But the reason why Monsieur Guillotine invented his guillotine was because he thought it was horrific that people were having their heads chopped off with axes and swords, which didn't necessarily make a clean cut, and they'll be hacking away at the back of someone's neck while they slowly died in excruciating pain. Quite horrific. And then you've got lethal injection. Again, they're found in America that some people, for whatever reason, it just hasn't fucking worked. And instead of killing them instantly, it has tortured them for up to 2 hours by making them feel like all of their veins in the inside of their body is on fire. Great. Good job, everyone. Cruel and unfair punishments. We won't have them. Yeah, that part of the Constitution's a really important one. Almost as important as that firearms thing and not quartering troops in people's homes without their permission. Okay, moving swiftly on. Didn't Westinghouse manufacture the electric car? I think he probably did. Also, many murders are a crime of passion, in that many murders act at the moment and are not thinking about the consequences. Exactly. It doesn't put people off. All it is red meat to the fucking meatheads, to the gammons, to the gambots, to the fucking Lord of the Gams, to the fucking dickheads, the meatheads, the porkheads, the fucking minceheads who voted for Brexit, vote Tory, don't like foreigners coming over here. There was a guy who called in, was it the same guy I was talking about earlier? I can't remember. And he was trying to think of like something that the EU did that was corrupt. He said, it's corrupt. Can you give me an example of its corruption? He goes, no. Oh, they tell lies. Okay, can you give me an example of them telling lies? They said, oh, vaccine killed people. No, they never said that. And in any case, if the AstraZeneca vaccine caused blood clots in younger people, I think it was found by scientists. It wasn't found by the EU. And the EU said, we're not going to license the AstraZeneca vaccinations because we got the Pfizer one. We've got enough of them. And basically, that might cause blood clots. And we know that this one doesn't at the moment. So we'll go with the one that doesn't cause blood clots. Great. Yeah, apparently that was a bad thing. These people walk amongst us. And yeah, and 30p Lee and Nigel Farage and that fucking Jonathan Gullis creep, fucking clanging, fucking gobshite. Jonathan Gullis, privately educated, of course. Yeah, he's a cunt. Anyway, moving swiftly on, The Blob. France, The Blob starring a little known young actor by the name of Steve McQueen, indeed. The original, not the remake. France retained the guillotine until they abolished the death penalty. Germany also used the guillotine amongst other methods until the end of World War One. Well, there you go. It was seen as more humane to kill someone with, but just chopping all their heads off. But you know what? Like, it is pretty horrific, isn't it? Like, public executions still happen in Iran and Saudi Arabia. Can you imagine being that fucked up that you're like, oh, what should we do for family? Well, it's Saturday. We have a thing in our family where we have adventure Saturdays, okay? And what I'll do is I've got these 3 little envelopes and they've got different colours on them. I've drawn little question marks on them. And I put a different adventure in each envelope, right? So one of them might be to go to, I don't know, 7 Stories in Newcastle, or it might be to go to, you know, somewhere cool in Durham. I'm sure it exists somewhere. And one of them might be to do the dishes, which I put in for a laugh. Anyway, so they get to pick. The kids get to pick. They go, oh, I want the blue one. I want the blue one this week. So they take the blue one and we open it up and go, oh, cool. We're going to the cinema to see fucking the Avengers or something. Right, cool. Right, go off and do it. Imagine if instead of going to the cinema to go and watch a Marvel movie, one of the options is to go and see someone being executed. Literally a human being being put to death. Or maybe a few human beings being hung in the public square. Or having their head chopped off in the footy stadium in the middle of Kabul. That's the kind of entertainment that these meatheads, the 30p Lee fuckers, right? These people who think that 30p Lee has a valid point about being able to live off 30p a day, which is the worst, fucking most patronising, horrific bullshit I've ever fucking heard. This guy, he keeps going on about, they just don't know how to budget. This is a guy who spent over £185,000 on his expenses a year. He doesn't know how to fucking budget. He wouldn't know how to he wouldn't have a fucking clue. 30p a day. You cunt. Anyway, but the point being, the type of people who would go, hey kids, let's go to a public execution, and therefore give their kids PTSD for fucking life. I don't fucking know. PTSD, sorry. PTSD. Fucking get your acronyms right, Graham. It's pretty horrific. I mean, it's just like, why would you do that? Why would you take your kids? Why would you want to go and see that? I can think maybe these same weird little fuckers who, remember on the internet, remember people used to send you those most horrific fucking photos of like violent death and things, and they thought it was funny. They got blocked really quickly by me. Anyone who sends like pictures of animals being abused, they got blocked by me. I know animals get abused, right? I don't need nightmares about it. Okay? Just why would you send that to me and give me fucking just don't understand the fucking thought behind that, to be honest with you. Is treating animals badly bad? Yes, I think we can all agree on that. We don't actually have to see, we can all agree that murder is bad. We don't have to see someone graphically murdered in real life to know that murder is bad. I think it's kind of innate in most of us, right? And who is going to look at that who doesn't give a fuck about violence towards animals and go, oh yeah, you made a good point. I'm against it now. Come on. Anyway, Barnard Castle. Yes, you could go down to Barnard Castle along the A167, which it's a really fucking dangerous road. The road that goes to Barnard Castle, it's the A617 for a bit, and then it changes around fucking Bishop Auckland. But essentially, it is a 60-mile-an-hour road that's single lane, well, not single lane, but there's one car's going that way and cars going that way. It's not a dual carriageway. There's no partition of there's no barriers. There's no fucking pavement for most of it. And basically you're fanging along through these little country roads. I don't understand why it's 60 miles an hour on country roads in the UK. It's bonkers, absolutely fucking crazy. There's a road near me here in Durham that's like a straight line. It's a straight line. It goes up a hill, goes down a hill, straight on. It's 40 miles an hour. I don't really know why, but it's 40 miles an hour. It's a big fucking fat road with no school on it, with no, people living on it. I don't think there's about 3 houses on the whole fucking thing. And it's 40 miles an hour. Or I can take this literally single track road around the corner, which is 60 miles an hour, which goes up hills, down hills. It's like the fucking road off the beginning of Postman Pat. It's wide enough for one car, just about. Hedgerows on either side, no pavement, 60 miles an hour, right through blind corners. Yeah, when I'm in charge of transport, things are going to change. Anyway, I'm getting off the topic here. I can't remember what I was blabbing on about. Basically, speed limits. I don't understand why on a fast road it's 40 miles an hour. I've completely lost my thread, guys. Can you let me know what I was talking about? Because, Barnard Castle, that's right. Yeah, so the road to Barnard Castle, it's really fucking dangerous. I wouldn't drive down that road if, I had, like, a sore eye. If I had conjunctivitis, I certainly wouldn't drive down that road to test if it was okay for me to fucking drive. You know what? If I was that mad that I needed to drive in order to test my eyesight, I might do a 3-point turn in the cul-de-sac. I don't know. Very slowly. Maybe I'll drive around the farmer's field as private property. I don't know. It's not the kind of thing I'll do. If I've got a problem with my eyes, I go to the fucking optician or the GP. I'm going to say, can I get some drops for my eyes, please? And they go, yeah, here you go. Go to the prescription. Go pay you £9.35 and go fucking get some drops for your eyes. I don't go to the fucking road and drive 60 miles. And if he had hit someone, he would have oncoming at like fucking 60 miles an hour. That's 120 miles an hour. Even if you're both doing this fucking speed limit. And if you're overtaking someone, you'd probably go faster than the speed limit because you're trying to get past someone. Jesus Christ, he had his kid in the car, little kid. And when you said about him having a kid in the car, especially on the trip up to London, they were talking about Dominic Cummings here, of course. On the trip up from London to Durham, he had this kid in the car. And he went, he's autistic. I went, what? He's not. But even if he was, what the fuck's that got to do with anything? He didn't know kids can get COVID. It was the end of fucking March in 2020. He didn't know shit. He put his kid in the car. He knew that his wife had COVID. He suspected that he had COVID as well. And they got in the car with their child and drove for 5 fucking hours. Nice. He's a misunderstood genius. No, he's not. He's a privately educated wanker. They all are. I know a man who watches that sort of crap, laughed at seeing pigeons get run over by buses. He's a massive racist and wants to be a copper. That's one of the most depressing humans that there are. And we need to stop being nice to them. We need to stop treating fools gladly. Suffering fools gladly. We need to stop suffering fools. Maybe that's the name of my next episode. I call it Stop Suffering Fools. Angry Moron. Stop Suffering Angry Morons. Phil Spicer says, hi, y'all. Hi, Phil. How you doing? Number 3 says, Joe Scott did a video about how long the head stay conscious after decapitation. Oh, bit grim. Did you go sightseeing at Barnard Castle? Yes. In Mr. Genius, you get some nasty old crosswinds on those roads around Barnard Castle, I seem to remember. It's not too bad. If you're coming on the A66 over the North Pennines, yes, there are some very, very strong winds if you're coming that way towards Barnard Castle from Kirkby Stephen. But if you are coming from Durham, it's not too bad. It's not too exposed. Patrick McCarthy says, I bet Graham knows the way to San Jose. Yeah, you just get a boat from my island to Almirante on the mainland. Then you get a minibus to the border at Sixayola. And then from Sixayola, there's a bus that goes to San Jose every day. 4 times a day, actually, at least. But watch out, because the border actually closes at 6 o'clock, even when fucking Google says it doesn't. Anyway, that's the San Jose in Costa Rica, not the San Jose in California, which I think that he was singing about in the song. I've read that when people had their heads removed on the shoulders, the eyes twitched. Oh, I can't read that. It'll fuck me up. Barnard Castle, France Retain, Baccarat Road. I'll say a little prayer. Do you know the way to San Jose? Watch New Pussycat. Walk on by. Raindrops keep falling, etc. What movie was Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head used for? Answers in the comments. I'm leaving soon, so hurry up. It's got a Bolivian connection. I know a guy who watches that sort of crap. Read that one. Joe Scott. I don't know. It's lovely. Do I like Sean Dyke? I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I think I've read everything now. There are lots of San Jose's, though, in the US and Latin America, indeed. Driving to test eyesight was just taking the absolute piss. It was about him proving he was above repercussions. Indeed. Why was Cummings so important that Johnson was defending? Well, Johnson has to defend everyone. Have you noticed this about Johnson? Because he's such a crook himself. If he takes the moral high ground for any of his people below him, he would have to resign himself. That's why he never, ever, ever fucking fired anyone. Even when they had broken the ministerial code. Like Priti Patel did. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Butch and Sundance, the Sundance Kid. Bush and Clyde. Bunny and Clyde? No, it's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Everyone's saying Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and you are correct with Paul Newman and Robert Redford playing Butch and Cassidy. Why Bolivia, Butch? Anyway, so that's I'm going to leave it on that. Bolivia's a great country, the land where health and safety forgot. If you survive, you'll have a great time. If you don't, you'll be dead. You won't care. Okay, so thank you so much. I think it's pronounced Daish. Sean Daish. Okay, I can say that. Daish. Okay, all right. I will be back on Monday. I've not had any super chats tonight, have I? Have I missed a super chat? Has anyone given me a super chat tonight? Oh, no. Oh, well. Not even 30p. Not even 30p for my 30p Lee impression. And also my, mints. Which I think James O'Brien apologised to Mints today for defamation, for saying that the answer was as thick as mints. And he said, apologies to the mints. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me for this War on Error. I'll be back on Monday at 9 o'clock, God willing, inshallah. And until then, I just want to say a huge big thank you to everyone who has watched the show. And also, I've updated my Patreon list. So if your name's on it, great. If your name isn't on it, and it should be, let me know. And love the family. Phil, £2 super chat just before I was leaving. Thank you very much, Phil. You're a fucking legend. Alexis, £1 super chat. Thank you very much. Makes it all worthwhile. Patrick, £2 super chat. Yes, I can buy a pint now. Woo! Thank you very much, Patrick. Tara Graham, see you Monday. Good night all, says Chelsea Rat. And also in Irish, I think. And I can't actually... I don't want to try and pronounce that and make a fucking arse of myself, so I'm not going to. But thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm building a Fletcher's, says Duke Vengeance. Okay. Don't know what to do about that. Okay, so until next time, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.